Hello, welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended and to another mod spotlight video. Today we are checking out the new premium mod map Vintal, which comes from WM Plays, which I was lucky enough to gain early access to, so thank you very much for that. The planned release date is on the 6th of November and is said to set you back a sum of either $5 or $10 and can be played cross-platform. I have also been informed that there will be official servers opening for it, so that's always going to be a big plus point. There is currently a free version that you can download and play today, and has been around for a while now and stated to be at 100% complete. It is, however, just the map. There's no bosses or any other additional content, so you can check out the map there if you haven't already. Vintal Premium, however, is stated to release at 85% completion, featuring creatures spawning from all maps and all DLC creatures so far in the game, and will also add new content to the map, which is why you are watching this video most likely. So in this video we'll be covering the map biomes, everything else new in the premium version to see if it is really worth that price tag. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. As always, we'll kick things off with the introduction to Vintal's biomes. These are the same biomes you'll find in the free version, so we're only going to cover these briefly. Beginning with the beaches, where you'll find tropical white sands scaling the coastline. I'd like to say it's beginner friendly, but I did notice that the temperature here was 50 degrees in the daytime, so that is a little hot for the beach bobs. You'll definitely feel like you've been stuck in the oven and roasted up for a Sunday lunch, but also very beneficial for resources, as many beach basilosaurus can be found scaling the entire coast. You'll have no problem finding basic resources here, plentiful rocks, trees, and all that good stuff that you'll find on the beach, including some washed up Ragnarok crates for some early metal tools and weapons. Moving down to the south, you'll find the woodland forest, plentiful with resources throughout here and housing a more diverse selection of creatures, which of course means more danger, which is to be expected of any jungle in ARK. Throughout this region, you'll find a lot of elevated ground and cliffs that could potentially make for great base locations. Speaking of resources, beavers can be found setting up camp around the many lakes scattered through the central mainland, and I did also spot many honey rocks. I don't think I've seen those in the game since Fueled It in Survival Evolved. Personally, not a big fan of those, as it's pretty silly being able to harvest honey from rocks, but I'm sure a lot of people will love easy access to many resources. Moving further south will lead you into a redwoods biome, and yep, it's just like any other redwoods biome you'll find on any other map. Giant redwood trees throughout, perfect for setting up a treehouse base. Home to the green obelisk and rich with rare and common resources throughout. You can also expect to find all the typical redwoods biome fauna inhabiting the region. Yes, those tree huggers will be hanging out high up in the trees, ready to pounce and give you all those cheeky hugs. And who doesn't love a good free hug? In the southeast corner of the map lies a snow biome that is actually cold, by the way. Finally, a modder that actually makes a snow biome cold. Who would have thought it would take this long to achieve? This one averages around minus 15 degrees, but is very vertical. Not really my favorite type of biome looks-wise, but hey, at least it's cold. Full of rich resources like metal, crystal, and obsidian as expected from a snow biome, and home to the usual suspects, the powerful mammoth herds, the roaring Uteranus, the deadly direwolf packs, the Argentavis, and a nice surprise, Ragnarok's griffins seem to also spawn here very commonly too. In the eastern part of the map lies a large open grassland, which reminds me a little of Ragnarok's highlands, but not as pretty, let's be honest, as that is one of the prettiest biomes in the game. Here you will find a variety of fauna that will spawn in the region, the Brontos, Rexes, Raptors, Ceratosaurus, and probably actually has some of the best mix of carnivores and herbivores that you can find in one single place on the map. In the north we have another large snow biome. It pretty much shares the exact same qualities as the one in the south, however this one is home to the blue obelisk, and you will also find some different species of creatures spawning here, including the Managama and the snow owl from Extinction. And also the deadly ice wyvern has its own trench where you can snatch and grab yourself some eggs if you dare. This one does also seemingly drop to below minus 36 degrees in the daytime, and you all know I'm a big fan of that. Directly central north, you'll find a scorched earth biome, where you can expect to find all those typical scorched earth beauties spawning here. There is also a small desert region to the furthest north too, plentiful with scorched earth resources and also metal, crystal, and obsidian. We then make our way into the northwest region, which is mostly taken up by a large volcanic biome. Home to the red obelisk, burnt black sands and rocks, filled with some pretty nasty carnivores, creepy crawlies, and the usual suspects you'll find roaming any other lava biome in ARK. Navigating your way to the tippity top of the volcano will see you stumbling upon a wyvern nesting ground, home to the original 3 variants of poison, fire, and lightning, which I think it's safe to say that there's clearly no shortage of wyverns in this area. It is, however, short of fertilized eggs, surprisingly, as I was only able to find a few nests in such a large area. The volcano's temperature is immense, rising up to above 90 degrees degrees, which is madness, honestly, but I love it. So the map will definitely add a good survival challenge here to even the more experienced players. Adding to that, I noticed heat waves also occur here too. So yeah, that's pretty brutal. Once again, the area is rich with resources. You can even find loads of these dead spiders that you can chop up for easy chitin and organic polymer. Scaling the coast of that, we finally reached the swamp biome. And yeah, once again, offering all the typical resources and creatures you'd find in any swamp in ARK. Seems to be a lot of Rhynianathus spawning here, so you can either take that as a positive or a negative thing. I'm not really a fan of the creature, but you cannot deny their utility. Then we finish our map tour in the central jungles, which does bear similarities to the island's original jungle regions. Almost looks identical and is home to a wide variety of creatures, including the Elderclaw apparently, looking all majestic in its natural habitat. However, the temperature here is relatively hot, averaging around 33 degrees, so that was surprising. So I guess you could say this map takes temperature to a whole new level. You can also find random cave loot crates dotted around the area, which was an interesting find. I did want to highlight this large white canyon that runs through the center. It's absolutely stunning, and a great spot to find your spinos if you're into them. There is, however, a hidden region found at the base of one of the cliffs, a large entrance that leads into an aberration green, blue, and red zone, where you can find all your aberrant variants and your aberration DLC creatures inhabiting, and all the aberration resources you'll need throughout your journey. I found quite a few creatures in the green zone, however the blue and red zone seemed very empty, so the spawns probably need looking into there. The green zone is extremely dark and needs brightening up a lot. I feel like I want to call it the dark room instead. There were also only 6 rock drakes spawning here on my dino finder, which is a bit low, so their spawns probably need to be doubled, but at least you get rock drake nests in the red zone, which is always a pleasant surprise. Oh yeah, I probably should mention the ocean before we move on, and holy oil and silica pearls. What the hell? Normally I find myself crying about mod maps oceans being completely empty, but damn, this is something else. You won't be short of oil on this map, black pearls and silica pearls, that's for sure. It does appear that all aquatic creatures will spawn here. However, because the ocean is so shallow, creatures like the Tuso and Mosa just sit there and do nothing. So I'm not even sure if you could tame the Tuso. It really did not care about my Carbonemus here giving it a kiss. But it is safe to say that the ocean isn't empty, at least from a resource point of view. I still can't believe how much oil is down here, man. Who even needs this much oil? A sea of oil, literally. It does state in the mod description that the ocean is very incomplete and is awaiting Genesis content to fill the ocean biome properly. But we could be waiting until 2029 for that. But at least there is a ton of resources down here to make up for a relatively empty ocean. And now we finally finish our map tour for the second time in the southwest corner. You'll find these lovely looking icebergs. And I don't know why, but this area is so satisfying to look at. Very picturesque, I must say. I might be biased as I love the snow biome, and it is my favorite biome in the game, but I actually think this is my favorite area on the map, looks wise at least. Plus it is very cold too, so you gotta love that. Here you'll find plenty of your local friendly neighborhood penguins, and of course keeping up with the running trend of ridiculous amounts of metal, obsidian, oil, silica and black pearls. This map really is something else when it comes to resources. Moving on to the map's new features, we'll begin with the new dungeons, which is no doubt the standout feature of the map. You can find the dungeon teleporter in the grasslands east side of the map. This will teleport you into a large room filled with some nasty creatures, and I must admit I've never seen so many bats in my entire life, in-game of course. Where you will also have the option to teleport to one of 3 dungeons when inside: the Megapithecus, the Dragon and the Broodmother. Teleporting into each of the following dungeons will have you face high-level cave creatures. The type of creatures you face will depend on the type of dungeon you teleported into. So for example, picking the Broodmother will see you facing creepy crawlies. Picking the Megapithecus will see you facing many deadly creatures from the snow caves, polar bears, direwolves, pullovias, and yetis. And picking the Dragon will see you go up against more creepy crawlies. All dungeons are filled to the brim with this new element crystal, which can be harvested for bucket loads of element dust and physical elements. So you won't be short of element on this map, that's for sure. Reaching the end of each dungeon will see you receiving some tasty loot crates in the form of red and yellow crates, which will also lead us onto the next new feature, which is the mini-bosses. There are 3 mini-bosses that act as guardians for each of the main guardians of the map. A guardian of the Broodmother, Megapithecus, and Dragon, which I believe is actually a Drakelin, which is kinda cute. Defeating these will reward you with 3 of the artifacts required in summoning the main bosses from the obelisks. And if you didn't get yourself enough element from the dungeon, you can still chop these boys up for some more element if you choose to. Lovely jubbly. It also adds brand new boss arenas for the 3 original island guardians, the Megapithecus, Argus, the dragon, and the broodmother, which is always a nice touch. I couldn't help but notice how dark the broodmother arena was though. I actually had to use a light pet to light the area up so that I could record some decent looking footage. The dragon arena looks pretty good, but once again it is extremely dark. The premium version also adds a few features from other maps. This includes orbital supply drops, so although there are no artifact caves, you still get your fair fix of loot farming. Along with that, there is element veins. Both of these only spawn in the volcanic biome. Not necessarily new features, but other new additions include giant beaver dams, radiation in the aberration red zone, the free version does not have it, and adds more creatures from DLC maps including Extinction, Valguero, and paid DLC creatures too. Well, as always, I'm going to be completely honest here. Vintal is a great map to play. It has it all, lots of resources, all DLC aspects, all creatures, etc, etc. I love that it adds realistic biomes and doesn't just slap down extinction assets and enlarge giant dino bones all over the map, which I have seen a lot of other modders do. So it really does look quite nice as a whole, but you do have to remember that the free version is pretty much the exact same version of the map in the premium version, which to be honest is an absolute banger of a free map. I do think it is a bit of a misplay having such a complete free version of the map, especially if it is going to be made premium later on. Usually a free version gives you a good taste of what it can be in the premium version and leaves you wanting more. However, the premium version does not add a lot in terms of map features. I don't think it adds anything to the map other than the dungeons and mini bosses, which are a nice idea, so I love that feature. The dungeons are challenging, but I do feel like it will get repetitive very quickly in terms of design. There's not a whole lot going on down there other than dark tunnels and element crystals, so I just can't really see it satisfying to run over and over again to farm artifacts and a bit of loot. I would really like to see them be more extensive and detailed. The new boss arenas are also going to be a positive too. The lighting in those do need improvement in my opinion, but other than that it only really adds basic features from other maps like OSDs, element veins, giant beaver dams. I just think it needs a lot more map features in the premium version. The map itself is the most important thing when it comes to premium maps in my opinion. I love to explore new things all the time, and there's not really anything else new to explore regarding the map in this instance over the free version. But I mean, if official servers do open up for the map, then it will be a great place for taming creatures and resource gathering, no doubt. I just think it really needs a lot more content, especially if it is going to be priced at $10 US. I think it's definitely worth it for $5 US, but yeah, if I wasn't here making videos about maps and was an actual paying customer, I'd probably be quite disappointed with the lack of extra new content. And I really do feel bad saying that, but it's just my honest opinion, man. I'd also like to point out that the map does run very smoothly. I didn't even crash once or find any bugs when filming all the footage and zooming around in GCM, so that's quite impressive when it comes to a mod map. I do admittedly have a pretty good PC, but I figured it was worth mentioning. And if you are interested in purchasing it for the extra content, there will be more content to follow further down the line. This will include magma saws and their own caves and nests in the volcano, a ferox cave in the snow biome, ocean being completely revamped after Genesis Part 1 releases, all further DLC creatures added to the map, more caves for building and resource harvesting. I did also want to give a little bit of constructive feedback regarding the map. For me, the biomes don't really merge all that well into one and just seem a little bit confused. For example, if we go back to the island, even if it is the most basic and bare bones map out there today, the map really is perfection when it comes to a design point of view, and it all makes so much sense together. On Vintal, every standalone biome looks great, but the snow biomes in particular are extremely vertical. They look very samey and there's not really any obvious footpaths where you could navigate around it. I feel like the only way to explore it is by flyer, and once again, when you compare this to something like the island snow biome, it lacks a lot of exploration value for me. As I love exploring maps on foot, the world barrier is also a little odd, the way it just instantly drops off into nothingness when being high up. I remember back in the day when I checked out the premium mod map Forglar and it had the same kind of thing, which just feels a bit weird to look at. The map doesn't really have any caves, so cave exploration is pretty much non-existent, and this is a feature I absolutely adore in ARK. Running caves and stumbling across random caves in the wild is one of my favorite things to experience in the game, and I know I'm probably in the small minority, but I'm not really a big fan of rare resources just being slapped down left, right and center all over the map. It just feels a bit messy to me. The excessive amount of dead basilosaurus and dolphins along the beach, crystal and metal literally everywhere. The sea of oil, although is something I like, it really is excessive amounts down there. For example, I like to explore and work my way up to get into a mountain for the first time and discovering a large amount of metal and getting really excited. But I do also recognize that a lot of people like resources being easy to come by. So don't really expect anyone to agree with me there, to be honest. ARK is a super grindy game, so I totally get it. I'm one of those players that just enjoy a lot of pain and a good survival challenge. I did find it quite funny though that there is all these rare resources everywhere, yet I really struggled to find a single stone to pick up off the beach to make my first stone pickaxe. But have no fear, you'll have metal, silica pearls, black pearls, obsidian, crystal and all that coming out of your ears, so who even needs one stone? And finally, and surprisingly, I did want to point out that there is no rivers or river systems on the map at all. The only bodies of water available are small lakes dotted around the map, which all look very similar to one another, which I thought was a little odd, as I do feel like rivers add so much natural beauty to any map. But anyway, it's a lovely map, just needs a bit of tweaking for it to be a great map. That is going to be the end of the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it helpful, and if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, share around, and subscribe for more. I will also be giving away a bunch of free codes to Vintal, so if you are interested in winning, be sure to join my Discord server and keep tabs on the server announcements section. The link is in the description of the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care, goodbye.